Hello everyone, Maurice here. Welcome to Tanks Invest, where we're going to be talking about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's video is for entertainment purposes only. The investments that we're going to talk about today would be Bitcoin, ticker BTC. As you know, across the board for a lot of the cryptocurrencies, there's been experiencing a lot of a sell-off recently. With respect to just 1 month so far, Bitcoin has been down about 32% from all-time high of about like the $64,000, $62,000 level, and currently is trading about like $45,000 level. And just this last week so far, ever since the debut on SNL for Elon Musk, it's been down about 25% so far. And just this, as of today, and I'm speaking on May 16th, on Sunday today, Bitcoin has been down about 6.5% at one point, trading around, again, the $45,000 level. So I'm going to go through the technical analysis to see where I see the Bitcoin price going from here on more of a psychological level based on the read of the technical charts. Also just some of the macroeconomical factors that we should be also looking out for as well. I'm also going to give you guys my ideal price level to watch out for, at some of those resistance level that you might want to be buying into if you're interested in buying. And also my price target for year-end 2021 as well. So stay tuned, stick around, and let's make some money. Alright, so take a look at the technical charts real quick. You can see that for Bitcoin, looking at an annual chart perspective on a daily spectrum, you could see that ever since last year, somewhere around like Q3, Q4, in October time period, we were trading on basically sideways around like the low 5 digits, about like $10,000 level, and ever since then we rallied all the way up to the $42,000 level, basically driven by a lot of the positive media affectation with respect to Coinbase being on IPO somewhere around like Q1 2021. So media has been propelling it. And also on top of that, a lot of institutional has been buying into Bitcoin with respect to Square, with respect to PayPal offering like no commission fees for transactional for a lot of cryptocurrencies. With respect to like Tesla, right? Elon Musk has announced that he purchased $1.5 billion of Bitcoin to put into Tesla's balance sheet, right? Which all of that media affectation baked into the price of Bitcoin, which subsequently rallied up the Bitcoin price, by fourfolds, right? From the $10,000 to the $41,000 level. And ever since the New Year's began, somewhere around like January 9th, one of the large institutional decided to sell and subsequently drove down the price, because we have, technically 4 times your money within just like 2 months. That's an enormous gain of 400%. That it makes sense and it's logical for some people to sell, right? And ever since then, it's sold down to the $33,000 level, which makes sense. And subsequent to that, a lot of consumers and institutionals has decided to buy in and subsequently drove upward. But ever since then, it was like more of a dead cat bounce that subsequently drove down again, with a lot of like whale manipulations, to be honest, just based on how the chart is basically looking at. Look at the big red candles and the big green candles. It shows a huge ownership of a seller and a huge ownership of a buyer as well. And subsequent to that, we consolidated and rallied back up because of the Coinbase IPO that expected to debut in Q1 or sometimes in Q2. And also on top of that, Elon Musk has officially announced on his Twitter post that he purchased $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, which we found out later. That subsequently drove the Bitcoin price all the way up to the $56,000 level, which, at this point right now is basically like almost a 6x, 600% or like a 550% gains in just like less than 3.5 months, right? And once we got to that level, that was like more of like a psychological resistance level that was, the trigger of the sell-off was driven by a big whale that dumped, just based on what you see in the big red candle, and subsequently drove a lot of sell-off from a lot of consumers, which I guess people got freaked out and scared, and that subsequently drove that off. And then immediately once we got to the $44,000 level, which was again a psychological resistance level that we tested from somewhere around like the February, that subsequently drove up again, right? And ever since then, we've been kind of consolidating in this like trap triangle right here, and we roll up all the way to the $65,000 level. And ever since then, we are trending more of like a consolidating fashion. But in the recent weeks and 1 month so far, we've been trending more of a downward perspective, knowing the fact that we've been down about 30% so far. And just this week so far, we have down more significantly ever since on the Saturday that we had that SNL show with respect to the performance and the informational session that the reporter had with Elon Musk, asking him about Dogecoin, what is the value proposition around there. And I guess that drove some sort of negative media affectation for Dogecoin, which also subsequently had some negative media affectations for the utilization and the usage of this cryptocurrencies. And also on top of that, subsequent to the SNL performance, Elon tweeted that he decided to not accept Bitcoin as a usage or for purchasing Tesla vehicles anymore. So he's no longer accepting that. So that subsequently, punched Bitcoin in the face again, which subsequently drove this mega sell-off that you see from here, right? From the 58, 57, $800 level all the way down to the $50,000 level, which was a psychological resistance, right? Any flat numbers is typically a psychological level people want to buy in, which you could see that people did buy in when it dipped somewhere around like the 49. But ever since then, we sold off even more, right? So the right now, like, definitely a worrisome chart because we broke the resistance level that we were performing before, like around like a $50,000 level, which we've been kind of consolidating sideways for how long now? Ever since February or late February, right? So for a couple of months now, right? Almost like 3 months so far. And so far we broke this level, and we kind of bouncing a little bit. I know as of today we were trading down all the way to like the low $45,000 level, but right now we're seeing some sort of a recovery. We're down by like 5% so far, but right now it's just kind of more of like in the free fall level right now. I see that because of the fact that we have to retest based on historical level, that the next resistance level is going to be somewhere around like the you could see that the yellow line that I drew here, it's going to be somewhere around like the $44,000 level that we need to look out for as the next resistance level based on what we see here. We tested once, we tested twice right here based on how we performed in February last year. So if we, I foresee it's going to be some sort of like a green candle that will bounce back up, right? I think it's going to happen sometimes around like tomorrow or like early this coming week. But if we don't, I think the next resistance level is going to be very, very vastly down. That is going to go all the way down to the $40,000 level, which again, another psychological resistance, right? So the first level again, right, is the $45,000 or $44,000 level. And the next resistance level is going to be a steep drop, another $5,000 downward trend to like the $40,000 level, which I think that should be a pretty strong resistance level to be formed, knowing the fact that we were basically, consolidating from here, trading more of an upward trend level. Also, with this mega great green candle means a big whale or big institutional investors, decide to buy in at that level, which drove the whole rally all the way up, right? So that's going to be a pretty strong level of resistance that we need to watch out for. That, if you're to buy in at that level, that should be a fairly safe bet, but Bitcoin is never too safe, knowing the fact this is still a more relatively earlier new technology, new adoption for utilization for currencies as well. So that's the next resistance level, and if we break this level, the next level is going to be somewhere around this level here. Will be around like the $30,000 level or the $31,000 level, which you could see that there's a scoop that subsequently rally up, and the bottom of the scoop is going to be somewhere around like the $30,000 again, right? Which makes sense again, right? Because of the psychological flat number resistance level that we formed. And by that point, that will be pretty much like 50%, 60% corrections from the top, which I think that's it's possible because we do have this like line to fill. So I think the worst case scenario, I don't think we will actually get down to the $30,000 level, because that will be like a 30K drop. That's pretty crazy. To have that such a big amount of effects, it will require a lot of corporations to be selling, right? But I don't foresee that to be happening. because I see Bitcoin's price to be a little bit more stable going forward because a lot of corporations are adopting, a lot of people are buying, and this is gonna be a utilization, for the world later in the financial system. But it takes time to obviously to metamorphosize, to grow into a bigger scale and grow into actual financial utilization going forward. But I think, going down to the, again, right, the $45,000 level makes sense, and I think that's something that we are going to be testing soon. And the worst case I see in the near future would be somewhere around like the, again, right, the low 40s, or like the 37 and $38,000 level that we need to retest again before we bounce back up, right? Also look at the MACD and RSI. You can see that RSI is extremely oversold. I think it's extremely oversold, which makes sense because of like this huge sell-off we've been seeing so far, 25% in a week. MACD is showing some, more of a downward stream, which makes sense again, right? Because we are selling down, and we do need to like go back down to the 45 or like somewhere around like $44,000 level again to retest this level, right? So it is still on a downstream on a MACD perspective right now, but knowing the fact that the RSI is so oversold right now, that I foresee is going to be bounce up, and that's the next level we need to really watch out for in the next couple of days. So if I was you, I wouldn't buy now necessarily. I would look out for that $45,000 level, see if there's like a green candle that matches up, and if you have some risk appetite, buying a little bit, but just know that the possibility of you further fall or deep fall or free fall down to the $40,000 of like $39,000 level, there's a 50-50 chance that you will get there. Okay, so that's something to look out for. Alright, so just to recap on all the numbers that we talked about today with respect to the fair price level, I think right now at the $46,000 level, we are still falling actually, and we do need to retest that resistance level that we had before, which is the one that we have for the $44,000 level that we retested before, the pump up all the way to 64,000, right? So 44 was the level that we tested for a little bit. And before that, we had that green, major green candle pump up from the $39,000 level to the 44. So if you have some risk tolerance, I think 44 is fine because we have sold off like 30% for this month so far. So if you were to dollar cost average, I think 44 is fine for you to get into a little bit. But just know that there's a possibility for you to further deep fall, a free fall level all the way down to the $40,000 or the $39,500 level again before the big green candle, like I mentioned again, right? So that's I think if we get down to the level, that's a pretty attractive level. That's the secondary resistance level that we have tested before the big green candle. And if we don't, I think the next level of resistance, which we consolidated sideways for a little bit, and the bottom of that consolidation was somewhere around like the $36,500 or the $37,000 level, which we were forming kind of as a base for quite some time. If you look at historical charts, we were kind of trading sideways at that level several times. So I think that is a very fairly strong resistance level, and that's more like close to about 70% sell off by then from the all-time high. So if I get into this level, I think that will be a pretty good steal if you think about this a long-term perspective. And going forward, as more corporations adopt, as we see more utilization, and as we see more mainstream coverage, or for adoption for Bitcoin, I could see Bitcoin hitting somewhere around like the $100,000 level, which a lot of analysts and Wall Street has predicted. But I personally see somewhere around like the $95,000 level before we go back down again to the $65,000 level. Because for you to pump up to that level within just 1 year, you just psychologically you need to retest certain resistance levels for you to feel more comfort, and also adoptions and utilization takes time, right? So I think hitting the $95,000 level, and then dip back down to 65 or somewhere around like the 50, and then pump up to the $100 or the 6-digit club level, that is possible, right? But ultimately, by end of this year, we're going to be trading higher than what we are today. That's something that I'm certain of. And just amount, and I believe 95,000 is a fair number based on the level of adoptions and the level of global expansion and utilization that we're seeing so far. So if we buy now at the $44,000 level again, right? Just to recap again, right? That's a pretty risky level for you to get into because there's a huge steep fall, a cliff that we're about to deep into if we don't, sustain that resistance level. That we will go back to like the 40,000 to 39,500 level like we see here, right? This will subsequently allow you to generate 116% of the gains or 2.2 times your money, which is not bad, right? Alright, so that's it for today with respect to my Bitcoin technical analysis. Really appreciate you guys dropping by again to show the support. Please again hit the like button, the subscribe button, and also the bell notification below. Really appreciate you guys dropping by and showing support. Stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.